Hey, welcome back to PennLive.com. We are again talking about Penn State football recruiting, and right now the topic is the opening, where Penn State has 4 commitments out there. Miles Sanders, the running back, Shane Simmons, the defensive end, Jake Zembeck, the quarterback, and Lavert Hill, the cornerback. And Greg, what I want to do is go through each of these guys and see what do they have to gain, what do they have to lose maybe at the event. And start with Lavert Hill, who he's been criticized a little bit for a lack of consistency at some of these showcase events. Is that something that he really has to address out there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you look at the reports that come out of the showcase events he's been at, the Rivals Camp, the opening, which is put on by Nike and Student Sports, you often see that Lavert Hill is sometimes praised for being one of the best cover corners and sometimes praised for being the worst cover corner. And it's not really a drill by drill thing, it's a rep by rep thing. There's times when, he'll go out and shut somebody down, and then the next rep, he'll get a little lackadaisical with his footwork, and someone blows right by him. So, yeah, consistency is a thing for him, no question.
And I think the same could probably be said about Shane Simmons, who's gotten the similar criticism about his game and maybe the ability to develop a more complete repertoire of moves as a pass rusher.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at what sort of takes the headlines from these events, it's usually, a big spin move or a nice swim move. It's always something that, someone blows by somebody, an offensive lineman, or they run him over. And Shane Simmons isn't necessarily able to do that in a camp setting. He's able to do it in a game setting, but in the camp setting, he doesn't quite have that repertoire of non-pad moves, which at the end of the day doesn't really matter, of course. He's never going to play without pads. But, yeah, I mean, I think from a rankings perspective, definitely the consistency and the ability to do more is something I think people are out there looking for him this week.
There's some stuff you can address. He might have had a little bit of time to hone those kind of things and work on those criticisms, but he's 6'4", 225, and I think that frame, he's very, very explosive, but as you said, it doesn't necessarily translate to the camp setting. And then Miles Sanders, I think hasn't taken the same kind of criticism. I think what's at play for him is maybe the #1 running back in this class. If he really performs well, and a lot of people think he will because of the skill set that he has and the way that he can maybe stand out in that spark testing.
Yeah, no question. I mean, he's not a guy I don't think that's ever going to necessarily wow anyone at one of these camps. Again, when you look at who wows at these camps, it's guys that, do highlight real things. And Miles Sanders does a lot of things really well, but it's almost like people expect him to do them at this point, so they don't really catch anyone by surprise. He's a very consistent player. It's an opposite from the first two guys. Very, very consistent with what he does, and he's not flashy about it. He goes out and does it and heads back to the huddle. So, yeah, I think that a move up the rankings is something that's in play for him this week. Clearly, he's done a lot to get where he is right now, and that's why Penn State wanted to land him so badly. And a ranking move is certainly in his cards, depending on how he performs this week.
It's worth noting that 2 of the 4 Penn State commits out there are probably considered the shakiest of the commits so far, with Lavert Hill and Miles Sanders. And then last but not least, Jake Zembeck, the quarterback. He's really proven himself to this point, even getting out to Beaverton for the opening. He's one of 18 out there. As of this sitting right now, he's not among the top 11 in the group. But again, I mean, I think what's out there for him is just to show a little bit more of the physical upside, because I think he's a very good quarterback. You see it on the field, but maybe in this camp setting isn't the best place for him to show it.
Right, yeah, so we're shooting this Tuesday, which means they're just getting ready to start day 3 in Oregon. So he has time to obviously get back in the mix of the Elite 11. There's another day of training left, and then some 7-on-7 start, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So he certainly has time to get back in the mix. But yeah, I mean, the thing with Jake is that he's not a guy that necessarily is going to blow anybody away at one of these camps. And there's quarterbacks out there that will blow people away, there's no question about it, but I'm not sure he's one of them. But you've heard, Bleacher Report had a piece up, or a couple other 247 and Scout had talked about his footwork had improved. Well, no one goes to a camp and wins at a camp because of their footwork. But for the future of Penn State's quarterback position, that's a pretty important thing to have. So I think that he's slowly progressing and sort of picking up where he left off from his junior season, which he only played in a couple games because he broke his wrist.
Well, he's shown enough physically to I think, really reassure Penn State fans, improve his national recruiting stock to a point where Penn State fans are feeling proud to have him on board and less questioning who the quarterback that they got. That's Greg Pickle. I'm Dustin Hawkinsmith, talking about Penn State football recruiting and the opening on PennLive.com.